Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am joined today with Josh. Josh decided to get up in Mom's attic today, and
That is baby.
he must have slept up there or something for the weekend. So how's it going, Josh? Are you ready for this beautiful Sunday morning and a beautiful week this week?
I don't know about beautiful, man, but it's cold. It's definitely cold out, man. Uh
Yeah,
I'm kind of in the holiday lull with work right now where I'm ready to be done. I got a few things left, man, but yeah, I don't know. I'm checked out.
you checked out from work. Wow. Okay. Yeah,
Checked
I get
out.
it. I get how it is. I mean, it's always a long year, and everybody kind of gets that way. I feel like, yeah, I'm kind of in that same mode. We have a crap load of cleanup still to do. 12. Good morning, Noel, Scott, and Mallory and JC. Good morning. Yeah, I got about 12 cleanups. We still got to get ready for the season. For the snow season, we didn't get no plows on. We didn't got salters on. So one of those things that you kind of get in that mode at the end of the year, and you're like, great, what do I do now? So
Yeah.
yeah, I understand where you're from at, but so what? Let's check this out. So did you have a good Thanksgiving?
It was decent. Yeah.
Yeah,
Some unnecessary stress, but it was that's I guess that's how the holidays go in reality, right?
yeah. I mean, I get it. It's always one of those things that you're like, okay, am I gonna get all this food together? We just kind of stayed home with just our family this year and cooked out and ate, and I mean, I think we still have stuff from Thanksgiving left over. I mean, we've been eating it for 4 days now, so but yeah, I went too hard on. I love cheesecake, and since it's got milk in it, and I'm allergic to milk, it tore me up yesterday. Yeah, so yesterday was not a good day. Didn't feel good most of the day. But yeah, I kind of learned my lesson on that to just not take over so much cheesecake that this for
Was
the
it worth it
holidays.
though?
So
Was the risk worth the was the reward worth the risk? Or
yeah, it's always good. It's always good. I mean, I make it really good, and it's always worth it. It just I
at
think
that
I eat
moment?
way too much. You know, being sick and hurting, and it I don't know. I mean, for 2 days, definitely it's worth it, but I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it.
It's a shitty thing.
Yeah, yeah. No pun intended. No pun
Yeah.
intended. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, it's been good. Business this year's been really good, and I know you've had really good business this year too,
Uh,
up and down.
I wouldn't say good. I'd say
Okay,
decent. Different avenues,
okay,
different opportunities have come up. That help the direction I want to go. Um, this now I'll say like me and my former were talking about this how we were slow this year. We did about the same numbers as last year with like half the work or whatever, but we also didn't put a single dime. And when I say a single dime, maybe okay, let's say maybe $50 into like Facebook ads in the beginning of the year, but we didn't put any money into advertising whatsoever. And I've said this before on the podcast, where I do believe we're going back to pre-COVID times. Well, we are going back to pre-COVID times. It's just what it is. And what I mean by that is when COVID came, it was a boost to everybody in this industry. If you kind of had your shit together, you were ready to go and you were going to make some money from 2020 to 2023. Um, Things are getting to the point where it's becoming more competitive in the area. Things are slowing down. People are spending less money on their enhancements, their landscape enhancements. Um, so you're going to see more and more people getting those quotes that they weren't getting before. I mean, I was going to houses and quoting $30,000, $40,000 jobs, which typically even myself, I'd be getting a handful of quotes for, and I was leaving with deposit checks before I even had the signed contract, which was insane to me. This year seemed to be a little bit more, I had to shop the pencil a little bit, take things out, maybe not be so fancy with what I'm doing. But if you also look at like airline stocks and reports, this was the heaviest year in the United States for people to travel international. So people are going back to let's make up that time that we lost. But you have that overseas family trip, or that that once every 3-year trip, 5-year trip. So I think we're seeing more and more of that. Next year, I'd be curious what happens. I do think people are going to be a little bit more conservative, but I think it's just going to get back to like 2019, where like you have to put a certain percentage down for marketing. You have to figure out where you have to go. I mean, personally, we didn't have to spend a ton of marketing the past few years because COVID was a blessing. It really just pushed work our way. And I think I got a little spoiled by that and complacent with not having to be like, all right, let me go on here and do my research. Now I'm in the mode where it's like, all right, I'm going to get through the rest of this year, do what I have to do. And coming into January, I'm going to come up with a marketing plan of what I want to attack. Like we've discussed, I have different avenues I'm exploring with the company and trying to go a somewhat different direction. So.
Right. And I think that's very important that you always have some different avenues of revenue or different ways you're going to produce your business. I think that's one of the things I've learned over the past is that to be able to offer more services, if you can offer as many services as you can, that's awesome. Or if you specialize in one service and then have that little bit of extra services here and there, I think it helps out in the long run. Have you seen that too?
I gotta disagree with you on that, right?
Oh, okay. I knew you were going to come on that one.
Yeah, well, I have to disagree with that because I even had an uncle that was like, you could be, a guy that does everything and tackle everything and have to have all these fucking tools.
Well, I mean, I don't think you should do everything. I'm not going to go paint somebody's house. I mean,
but if you offer all, you do want to narrow down. So, like, if you're talking about the umbrella of landscape or lawn, where you cut grass, spring, fall cleanup, mulch, fertilizer, cool, you're in that blanket. That's ideal. But even with that, you see guys have starting to like really condense what they do, and that was my thing where it was like, all right, let me try to condense down what I do, and I got rid of a lot of stuff. But I just think if you have so many services, that's so many skills you have to know yourself, or you have to make sure that you can dial in and teach different people. And you know how hard it is to hire people right now with skilled labor. So how much harder is it to teach a guy how to use a hedge trimmer, a leaf blower, a lawnmower? And it's crazy because I know people with hands like business owners or foremen and supervisors that might listen to this are like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, you should be able to pick anything up. It doesn't work like that. A lot of people have never picked up a power tool.
See, I'm seeing more in our area, and I don't know about your area, but we're seeing more to where the customers are looking for that one company that does everything. They don't want that. They don't want to pay that 12 different companies to do the same services that one company can do.
And I get that. So, but you can still keep that in an umbrella and not have to have all that investment on your end. That's what subcontracting comes in. Right. Scott, you may only cut the grass and spring and fall cleanups, but you can also source out the fertilizer. Just because they have different people doing it means they still deal with you directly and you manage those people. Pain in the ass maybe on your part, but it's less of an investment and less liability on your end.
So do you ever get worried about your subcontractors doing the work that you put out, like the pristine work, and doing that same type of work for you?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, I can't bullshit and say no. There's always that worry that like they're gonna come in and not do it right. And I'm sure that there's contractors that I work for that worry about the same thing. But at the end of the day, it's like I don't use randoms. I use people I know or people I know through people I know. There's some sort of connection there, Have I used randoms in the past? Yes, but again, there's still social proof of who they are. I'm able to ask locally about them and whatnot. But yeah, that's always there. But that's why I usually have those systems and processes of like, this is how we do things, X, Y, Z. Don't reinvent the wheel of how it's done. This is how we do it. If you need help, I will personally come help you. If you need help with a cut or a placement, I will help you. So, but when it comes down to like fertilizer, right? It's like when I did more lawn care, and I subbed the fertilizer. I don't know anything about fertilizer. I can't even pretend to act like I know what it is. But I hired a reputable company that cost a little bit more. My markup was obviously less because he cost more, but he knew what he was doing and he had a decent sized outfit and he was reliable. It got to the point where I got away from that and I threw things directly his way. But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be that dot of doubt where what if, but I mean, it's the chance you got to take if you're going to do that.
Okay. So I see what you're saying. So you're saying I should just subcontract everything out and just do what I'm doing?
Well,
it's easier for me, right?
But think about it. Like if you're working,
it's easier for you, right? It works for you.
If what works for me might not work for you, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, like if you find yourself working 14-hour days, 12-hour days, and 7 days a week, I get that's what you have to do in the beginning, but you're not in the beginning, man, and neither am I. It's like,
No.
where can you be more efficient where you don't have to invest out tens of thousands of dollars of equipment and you can sub it out and literally manage the invoice? I'm doing the job next week, 2 blocks from my house. It's a $15,000 job. Personally, me, I'm making 30, and I'm not gonna always throw numbers, but I'm making $3,500 off the job for fucking standing there. I got flowable fill coming in. I got like 4 concrete trucks of flowable fill, and then I have a pump truck coming in for 5 hours to pump it. I'm sitting there and watching them put it in a hole and pump it. I'm just there to manage it, and it's going across the board. And I'm not doing it. But again, now if I had to go manage that, if I had to go actually bring that job in and hire the concrete trucks, bring laborers in, bring my skid in to load it up, my cleanup, my crew, my payroll taxes, I might make the same or less. With this, I'm showing up and I'm sitting in my truck, man.
Right.
I'm getting out peaking, but that's what I mean. I'm not going to do that on every job, but there's certain things, yeah, I'll go away from. Listen, I've had hardscape jobs where we've been behind, and I've subcontracted out the excavation and a rough grade base from people. That just to get ahead. So I network with guys like that, and it might speed up where we just come in and we do the flat work and we make, at the end of the day, we lose a little bit of money, but at the same time, the progress is there. That big job, that big quote that I'm working on that I have to finish up this week, it's the biggest quote of my career so far. And, I don't even do that much money in a year, revenue.
Right.
And a lot of that's going to be broken up into subcontracting. But it's going to be the same piece of the pie where it's going to be, this is how everybody from my crew to the 3 other crews that are laying pavers, this is how you're going to do it. This is my system. This is how I want it to be put down. That way, if there's an issue, it's either you didn't follow direction or my plan wasn't developed right. But yeah, I mean, but why not?
Right. Okay. So, well, if you need a subcontractor, I'll drive all the way out there.
Well, but you know what? I'm probably going to have to subcontract the mowing.
Well,
that's what well, with some of these new development, I have to hold warranty contracts. So you have to mow the grass for 2 years. I'm not really, I haven't looked at the investment. I know it's going to cost me, but again, I'd rather bump it up with an admin fee and subcontract it out than rather having to buy another truck, another trailer. Let's just say a mowing setup's $80,000. That with a used truck and 2 mowers and body, it's $80,000. For something that I don't do and I don't want to manage. Why not just hire a guy for a contract of $15,000 to mow the lawns there for me, and then make $5,000 a year off it just to pay the admin fees?
That's not bad. That's not bad. Right. Well, Uncle Paul Camara, he agrees with you about subbing out. He just subbed out a sod job, so it's available to do that. We used to sub out snow removal, so I kind of know where you're going at. You just make your money on it. You have your admin fees on it, and just be able to still make some money off of it. And I've done that before, and it works out. Like, I think it's more of, like you said, you got to find that right person and tell them how you want it done, and if you have to, go out and show them to make sure that that's the way it's done. And that's always how I work.
Communication has to be there. Like, if you expect to show up and just say go ahead and do it, they're going to do it there in the system. That might not be up to your par. So yeah, like if you have the first 1 or 2, you might have to sit there and show them, hey, this is how I want it done. You're not losing money because you're still not putting your crew on there. You're not having your payroll. You're thinning liability, like I said, and you're thinning out your costs. So yeah, if Scott has to show up and say, hey, Josh, this is how I want it done. This is how you did it the first time. Wasn't right. Wasn't up to my level. Now I understand.
Right. Okay. Well, I totally agree on that. So communication is always key. I mean, I think communication with customers as in subs or even your employees is the main key. I mean, you got to communicate to continue business, and a lot of people don't come back and do that. I see a lot of companies that don't communicate with their employees on what's going on, and it can hurt your company in the long run. So that's good. So now everybody at your company knows you're bidding on this big job, correct? And it's a possibility, or at least the main guys.
Yeah, I've been excited about it. So I chirp a lot about it.
Yeah, I can tell. It's good though. I mean, I think that's good because I think that it puts it out there that even if you're bidding on a bigger job, you can tell your employees, hey, I'm bidding on this job. So get ready, because if this goes through, this could be a game changer sometimes,
Yeah.
and it
And
could
there
be
is a good chance we get it because we have a pretty good rapport with the company, and we have a very good recommendation from one of the contractors they used to use. So it's the numbers are at a point where I'm not fully comfortable, where I've had to quadruple check them and go through and I use the takeoff software, and I have to double check my measurements to make sure I'm not screwing myself. Um, so it isn't, it's intimidating, man. But I think that's why I talk about it a little bit, is just because, like, to throw it out there, because sometimes I'll say something where I go, oh shit, I missed that. Like, yeah.
right.
But yeah,
I agree with you.
they all know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you. I mean, when you get that big job, you're always intimidated on, if do I have it the right way? Do I have everything done to the T, so that way I'm making money, I'm not losing money. But there's always that what if, like, if something's not right the way that you expected it to go. Because I mean, I've been in that situation. We've done a big complex that we did a lot of work for. We were out at the property for 2 years, and some of the beds was pure dirt, and some of the beds was stone to plant everything in. So I think it does make a difference on, you can bid it to the T perfectly, but you're always going to have that mess up. So do you add a little bit for that, or do you just take it as it is?
No, I am. I'm probably about 20% overage is what I'm going after, and then
Okay.
and I'm being careful. Yeah, I mean, if I can promise you one thing, there's mistakes in the estimate. Like, that's 100%. If there's one thing that I know I'm good at and I can promise myself, I made a mistake. And as many times as I measure it, I might read something wrong. I got dyslexia, so I have to be very fucking careful. Like, a lot of it is A1, B1, B2, 3, A2, 3. So it's like making sure that I take the time. Like, I'll show you the thing sometime. I have to take different color highlighters, and each thing has a legend. And like, for a pink highlighter on A3, it's A3 around the map to make sure that I can count and get everything right. Because like, put it this way, on these plans, what you have to realize, they have a legend, and they might say, okay, we're gonna install 80 autumn fire maples, and it might say 80 on the legend, but there might be 90 on the map. So you have to go in there and find those based off what's around to see if there's a discrepancy. Because if not, the discrepancy is on you, because you quoted it based off that without double checking. Those two about like $200-$300 a piece. So you have to be careful. So I there's mistakes in it. I know there is, but that's where padding it a little bit and not going crazy is definitely going to help.
Right. And I think by highlighting certain things to go with it, that's a good system, because to you, that helps you figure out what goes where and be able to say, okay, I counted everything, instead of just saying, okay, I think I got everything. Hopefully I got everything. Now, I know you're doing the planting, you're doing the brickwork, you're doing the mowing. If you get the contract for 2 years, you're doing the irrigation. Because I feel like that's always something, like, when we go to plant stuff, we're always iffy, because if they have a different irrigation company coming in and doing the planting, we're always like, what? We just did the plants. Are they going to get watered on time? Are they, is the irrigation going to get done? So that was one of the things when we did the big irrigation and planting job at the big complex. We had to make sure that we had it all at once. It wasn't like we wanted separate. We didn't want the mowing. We could care less about the mowing. We were the same way with you. It was more of, sub that out. We don't care about it. We want all the rest of the stuff. So is that something that is included in your quote, and you're subbing out, or they already have somebody for that?
We bid the irrigation. We have to. We have to, essentially, all scopes of work for the land. Like, the less you bid on the, in matter of fact, of landscape, you're not going to get it. If you're like, I just want to do the paperwork, unless you're coming in at like $18 a square foot, you're not going to get it. Because if someone comes in and says hydro seed, mulch, irrigation. So yeah, I bet on the irrigation. I have a company that I work with. I don't do commercial irrigation. I have a company I work with that I buy the irrigation from. I send them the plans, the engineered plans, and through the engineered plans, they put together. And I think Site One might do this too, to be honest with you. I'm not 100%. It's not Site One that I use, but most regional or nationwide irrigation companies will do this. I send them the plan, the layout, and you could probably do the same thing with the takeoff software or Google Earth. Mark out the area that you're gonna install the irrigation. I send it back, and then what they do is they send me the plan, and then they send me the legend with all the parts. So it's like, I think when they sent it over, it was something like, and they padded it a little bit. It was like $20,000 in irrigation parts with a little bit of a pad.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
And I'm assuming they probably padded it by like 25% or so. So it's not
Right.
horrible. And then what I do is I send that to an irrigation guy that I work with, and then he quotes me up, plus his pad. I make sure he pads. I do have them quote sleeves separate, just because a lot of the times you get there between walkways, the site contractor does put the sleeves in. So then now you're having to dig up all that compacted gravel, install these sleeves, put it back in. Hopefully the landscape architect and the engineer is like, yeah, that's up to par. Cool. Otherwise you got to rip it off. So they do quote, a few thousand over for sleeves and stuff.
Right. I think that's a good thing to do. We ran into that problem when we did ours. They didn't put sleeves in certain areas, and what sleeves they said they did were not found. So it was one of those things that it turned around and they had to end up coming back out and ripping up most of the driveway and all the parking lot just to get the sleeves in, because they were in a hurry to get one of the buildings done. So I think that's one of the things that, especially if you're doing irrigation work or if you're quoting it on a new project, make sure that there's sleeves for underneath sidewalks, driveways, between all kinds of different areas. Make sure you got sleeves, because if not, it's gonna definitely screw up your business in the long run. Especially if you go ahead.
If you're just a paver guy and you're installing a walkway or patio, put sleeves under it. Charge it to the customer.
Right.
Cost you $100, couple $100 for how many sleeves you want. You want to make sure you have sleeves for speaker wire, landscape lighting, irrigation, and then they might want to run through. That way they're not ripping up the great job you just did. If you put it in the cabin, so typically what I do is I'll mark out when we put it, 10 feet off this foundation wall, 6 feet up, and put a center mark to where the cap is, so that they can pull right out, pop the cap, and fill it in. It goes a long way rather than having to rip it up a year later when they decide they want to do something else.
I think that's a good benefit. I mean, a lot of companies, especially around ours, don't do it, and especially with them adding new concrete. A lot of them are getting new concrete sidewalks and stuff. And I'll tell you what, if they put in the sleeves, it comes in a lot easier to put in the irrigation line or the speaker wire, or, lighting. I mean, lighting's getting more and more complicated and bigger, and a lot more people are getting lighting. And guys that are sitting out there digging forever to get underneath that sidewalk, it's just, it's a pain. It's more time than anything. So definitely, if you're bidding out a sidewalk or something and you're installing hardscaping, put in that sleeve. Go for it. I mean, I think it comes in handy. So I think Josh would agree with that.
Yeah, just to cap the last part up. So irrigation, I do have to take. So I am responsible for it, even though it's some contracting out. So if something goes wrong after the building opens up after a year or two, something goes on, I am responsible for it. So there is that difference there, and I do mark up the irrigation. So if I get a quote of 40 to 60 grand, I'm marking that up probably 15-20%. To play around with it. And like I said, that quote that I got for material is just an estimate. Once you go out there and you get the gallons, the building's not even built yet. Like the footing's not even in or nothing. So once you get the gallons per minute and you can actually check what we need, obviously that list will probably go down. That price will go down a little bit. But I am responsible for that. In the same sense, the contractor is held liable that I hire. So he'll assign a contract to me if we get the bid, where he's going to have to honor his craftsmanship as far as the 2-year warranty goes on the building.
Right,
so if he wants to up and tell me to go fuck myself, then I'm screwed. I am trained in irrigation. It's just not something I specialize in, and it's not something I'm comfortable jumping into on this first big job, in by any means.
Right. So over the years, you've gone down and specialized in just hardscaping. So do you feel specializing in something is, in the long run, 100% better than just having a whole crap load of services? Because I feel like, as I've been in business for so much years, it's easier for me to specialize in landscaping. We do a lot of landscaping, a lot of pruning, some irrigation work, some ferts, some mowing. But we always get more business for our landscaping. So specializing, is that better for you in the long run? Specializing and subbing everything out and just doing it that way?
Um, for me personally, I would prefer. I mean, we offer different services, but again, the umbrella's small.
Right.
I don't dabble in the lawn care stuff anymore. But I prefer to specialize in something. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that, and a lot of this comes from like personal experience. Like when I'm looking for electrician, I'm not looking for an electrician, a handyman that does some electrician work or does a little bit of plumbing, a little bit of this. I want someone that knows their craft, exactly what they're doing. They have the tools for it. You know, they're not using a set of vice grips to fix something on a breaker box. You know,
Right.
it's the same idea where like I get it. You got to start from somewhere. You work your way up, but once you hit like that 5 to 7 year mark, you figure you have that specialty where like if you're going to do landscape enhancements, right? Maybe that's what you specialize in. You offer mowing and stuff like that because that, you know, that's just that pays the bills. But then your landscape enhancements is what you specialize in. Like you put the focus on the marketing. Like,
Right.
you know, we do French drains, we do excavation, but I don't push that. I push like pavers. Like we like to do pavers. We like to do walls, but you know, we don't get the we want for walls out here. It's a very competitive market for retaining walls. When we get them good, but we like to do them engineered. We like to complete the jobs as engineered walls.
Okay.
But pavers is really where I try to push it. Like, hey, specialize. We have the saws, we have the tools, we have the skill. Here we go. You know, I think when you have a specialty, especially like you might be looking for a specific demographic of customer. You know, I don't want the customer that's going to nickel and dime me to death. I want someone that knows that they're paying for skill and the time that I've spent, you know, mastering my craft. Again, you know, looking for someone to clean out your poop pipes. You know, I don't want to call just anybody to clean out my poop pipes. You know, I want someone who specializes that knows what they're doing because I don't want someone cracking a plastic sleeve in my house and it smells like shit. You know, so I think having that niche and having that specialty and specializing in something is very important, especially in this industry. Because again, I think one of the biggest issues in this industry is like you see guys like one stop, we do it all, which is cool, but you're not showing any difference from like Peter to Paul. You know, Scott, you cut grass and trim bushes at that bottom dollar. You know,
Right.
like I know, you know, Paul's on here. You know, I mean, I consider what Paul does landscape enhancement. You know, look at the fucking
Right.
property guy does. You know, that's a
Right.
different type of maintenance. He's landscape maintenance, but it's also an enhancement with it. You know, he's if you're just going to be, you know, mow and blow, specialize in that mow and blow because there's a huge market in that. There's nothing wrong with being that guy that can go out and say, hey, listen, yeah, I can do your cut for $50 in and out, but this is where we're going to go. And that's what you specialize in, is that mowing. I've always said it, like if I went back to mowing, I would probably be sure nothing else. I wouldn't trim bushes. I wouldn't do pavers, lighting, irrigation. I would just focus on mowing. I would buy trucks, trailers, mowers. Kind of, this is how we do every week. There's no specialty to it or anything. It's boom, boom, boom. But all we do is mow. We know how to mow grass like a mother.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think that's the way to do it. I mean, I really do. Okay, so I'm going to go back to what we started to talk about in the beginning is you said that a lot more people ask for multiple quotes. Now I know it goes on and on. So JC, before I jump on this, JC says, what do you do when you realize that you're currently doing isn't profitable, but you haven't yet found a new specialty? Well, you got to redesign the wheel. I mean, I feel like you have to look at everything. And I think that's one of the things we do every year is we try to figure out right at the beginning of the year, this is what we make off of each customer. And I know there's a lot of the softwares now that once you start putting the stuff in for the year, it automatically calculates what you're going to make off that customer. And yeah, you're going to make more off of it than you normally could. But if you know that you're going to work, like say, I only want to work 40 hours a week. You put in your 40 hours in for whatever yourself, your employees, your taxes, figuring that all out ahead of time every year lets you know if you're going to be profitable or not. Yes, you're going to have variations of shit's going to break down. I mean, you can't help that. But knowing that ahead of time and going into the season saying, this is what I need to have. And it kind of goes back to knowing the numbers. Like if you know all your taxes, you know all your gas, your all that stuff. Yeah, you might be higher or lower one week or whatever in the gas, but your taxes are always going to be the same. Usually, your phone bill is going to be the same. Your truck payment's going to be the same. Your mower payment's going to be the same. These are the things you got to know ahead of time before you jump in and say, But if you know down the road and looking at the beginning of the year and say this isn't profitable for me, then you got to change something up. There's definitely something that has to be changed. And that's the way I look at it. Especially when I look at our yearly stuff. I don't know how you do it, Josh.
Similar. Just to directly answer Jay's question is, like you said, like stop at that job and figure out why it's not profitable. Was it the way that you quoted it? Are you not quoting enough? Do you not know your bottom line number? Like if you're by yourself, working for yourself by yourself, it's pretty easy to find out.
Right.
Typically, I think the mistake is guys will go in, let's just use a shrub trimming job and say, yeah, it's $800 to, trim the shrub. You're figuring, all right, it'll take me 2 days. I get out of here, $400 a day. Killer, cool. All of a sudden, a variable comes up. Takes you a little bit longer. Maybe you misquoted it. You didn't realize you needed a ladder. You're going to go rent the ladder for a couple $100 a day. It takes out of it. You have to sit down and figure out where you went wrong. This is where kind of experience comes in, where knowing time, how long something will take you, comes into play.
Right.
But again, yes, knowing your numbers. So like the way I do it at the beginning of the year, like you said, you have your fixed expenses, your car payment, your car insurance, your phone bill, your rent, your mortgage. Those are never going to change. They're the same thing every month. That, let's just call it that $5,000 is there every single month. That payment does not change. Your variables are going to be your fuel, your payroll, your taxes. That's all based off how much work you do. You're going to spend gas depending on how much work you saw and how much you travel. Your payroll is going to change based off how much you're going to pay guys because you bill up. When you get employees, you start realizing like, oh, it takes 10 hours to do that, So I got to charge, $50 an hour times 10 hours. But I think one of the biggest issues with solo guys, and I know my issue and my fault was just thinking, hey, as long as I make a buck, I make a buck. It's not the way you want to do it. You want to try to treat it like you're the employee, right? You want to make sure you're paying yourself. If you're going to pay your employee $20 an hour, for argument's sake, let's just say you're going to charge $45 an hour for that employee because that's what everything adds up to cost you. And then you add your profit on top of that employee. So maybe that puts you at $65 an hour, right? So now you have to look at that job might take 10 hours to do, 65 hours times 10, and see where you are, right? You have your profit, you paid yourself, and your company made money. You should be able to make money in there. Now, if there's something that comes up, like maybe it was a Hornets nest in there, or you couldn't reach and you had to go rent a tool. Now you have that little bit of a buffer between the markup to pay your overhead, the markup to pay your employee, and the profit, the 20 to the 65. That's where it makes a difference. That's why there's that big gap. People say, oh, I don't need to charge that much money for an employee. Yeah, you do, because it adds up between taxes. And that's just, we'll get into a whole segment about like how to put that hourly rate together. But and then obviously as you go, you find out what you like, what you're into, and what you're fishing at, and that can become your specialty. But it still works the same way. You can do a specialty and suck at pricing and not make money,
right?
But at the end of the day, you just got to make sure it's how long it takes you versus what you're charging. Are you making money? A lot of stuff that I do now will be time and material. Look, I walked into jobs in the beginning and quoted $300 for a cleanup, and I was there for 3 days.
Right. I agree with you. I mean, I've done it many, many times, and I think now we're down to by the hour. I mean, we have a set minimum, and then we go by the hour. And it's hard to get, especially with cleanups and prunings. There is a lot of variables with it to say this is how much I'm going to do it for. Because like you said, it could be wet leaves one time, it could be dry leaves. You don't know. You could need that. There could be a hornet's nest, like you said. You could need a ladder that you thought, hey, I could get this without the ladder, or you need a specialty tool. Like there's a lot of things, or you forget the tool and you got to run back to the shop. In the middle of the job. There's a lot of things there's so many variables in certain aspects of any business that we do or anybody else does that it's hard to say,
Now, hold on, pause for a second, because this goes back to my point a little while ago. Specialty tools, ladders, not knowing the environment you're in, how long it takes. This is where the jack of all trades can bite you in the ass. In the specialty, you have that tool to do that job. Being a jack of trades and offering multiple services, you might not be equipped to handle that. Thus, your profit margins are going to be small. You're going to make less money. Get it. A dime's a dime. You're going to take that pay. But if you could make that bigger nut by having that specialty and having your tools and not going outside of your comfort zone, why would that to yourself?
Right.
If you have a brand new Walker lawnmower, a brand new weed whacker, you're going to go off for a paper job after you just spent all that shit? No, you're going to go cut lawns like you bought and make laser beams.
I'm not going to touch it with I'm not going to touch a paper job if I bought a brand new mower.
Yeah, like you have that's what you're equipped for. Bit by bit, you dabble in that, but right now that's what you're invested in. You stick to what you know, you stick to what you have, and you get. And I know that's not like a lot of people won't agree with that, but I mean, I think like master your craft that you're in at that time.
I agree. I agree with that. I mean, I agree with all that stuff. So going back, you're saying you have to put in more and more estimates. So do you see in the next couple of years to advertising? I 50-50 shot on advertising, but we've always kind of did a little bit of advertising, but not much. And I know you said you got away from it because of COVID, because of all the extra work. And I feel like, during COVID, we got tons of extra work because people wanted to put money into it. So are you going to start investing more into advertising or are you still kind of going word by mouth? If you don't get this, let's say if you don't get this job, because I know this job's a big job that is going to involve a lot.
This job would be if we sign the deal on this by after the new year, it's going to be a year or two out regardless. So we still have to have we have to prepare because there's a lot of carrying costs with this, major carrying costs that I have to prepare for that I'm not used to. I honestly need to seek some mentorship on this before I go into it once we get it. But to answer that question, yes. So I have to. And we knew going into this year that things were going to start to slow down. That people, not necessarily slow down, but people were going to be more conservative with their money, and we had to be more aggressive. We didn't put the money into marketing, maybe just laziness or overconfidence, to be honest with you. I don't know. We had a lot of things. We hit the ground running. We had a very lucrative winter, so we didn't have to necessarily be as aggressive. Where we don't offer kind of expanding our area, our service area. We currently had covered a small area for residential, and we've done great with that. But because things are becoming more and more competitive, now will we take jobs everywhere in those areas? No, it all depends on what the numbers are and how busy we are. Getting more and more into construction and landscape development, we're going to have to travel a bit more. The numbers will reflect that. But yes, we'll have to spend much more money than we have on marketing. And I can't get too upset about it because I got lucky with COVID. I mean, I got lucky. I didn't have to spend much, and I made a lot of money during that time, a lot of money, so it was great.
Right.
And I'm not grateful for COVID, but I'm grateful for the outcome of what it allowed me, the opportunity allowed me, so now I have to suck it up and I have to spend the money. And obviously it's going to be targeted marketing to certain affluent areas. As much as I say those cities, those 3 points are just kind of bullet points. Like obviously when you're in those inner cities, they're smaller, it's going to be more competitive. Things are a lot more expensive. So we go inside those areas, which are more like the greater Boston, greater Worcester, greater Lawrence areas, where we can actually target those affluent areas and get the demographic we want. I'm going to take my time. Echo Means Business just had the marketing networking series or whatever it was at YouTube Live, and one of the questions was Google AdWords, because I used to fool around with Google AdWords a little bit, Google My Business. Google has always seemed to be pretty fair. They're expensive, but I think the ROI is decent there. So I'm going to have to do some research once the season's done and see where I want to put the money. Obviously be careful. I had a bad experience with Angie's List. Actually, I did spend some money during COVID. I think it was like between $3,000 and $7,000 for the
Okay.
year on Angie's list, and I was furious. Um, and I think I might just be the exception because people speak very highly of him. But I made no money. No, I didn't make a single dollar. And I feel like I got one legitimate lead, and I felt like the rest of them were ghost leads. I was paying, I think, like $500 to $700 a month or something. No, it was more than that. I forget. I was paying a pretty penny per month to be at the top of the list, and I had gotten a phone call in a town outside of our service area. I went to go estimate it, and I asked the woman. I said, "Did anybody else show up?" And she gave me the names, and the people on that list were at the very bottom of the list. So everybody was getting it. I wasn't happy with it. Angie's list came around and said that it was my closing style, that I couldn't close the sales, and I wasn't happy. I spoke to a friend who is in the he's a chimney guy, and he said he's made hundreds of thousands with Angie's list. So may have just been me, but I got to do my research and see where I want to spend the money. That's for sure.
Right. So would you do, okay, so now you're going to target these areas. Would you do postcards? Would you push maybe towards Facebook? I know you had said Google AdWords, but is it easier for you to go door to door and pick a area? I know a lot in kind of our area, there's a couple concrete guys that do concrete pools. So what they do is they push into one neighborhood. If they can get one house in that neighborhood, they'll go door to door at that point and say, hey, we're down the street doing this pool. If you want a pool, we're going to be in this area for at least a couple weeks. And they'll try to condense it down to where they can get 3 or 4 pools in that subdivision and say, we're here. We're not going to move out of this area. But if they only get one, then they move on to the next area and they keep moving around. So, I know the one has told people like they're booking in different neighborhoods for months at a time. But they've told people like, hey, if you don't get us a pool in this time frame, we're moving out of this neighborhood and we won't be back for at least a couple of years.
No.
So is that something that you might do, is like pick to one area and try to get a job and try to continue to get a couple jobs in that neighborhood or subdivision or area?
Yeah, we'll definitely do targeted areas. That's okay, for sure. I actually I have a friend of mine that's in sales, Miggs, if you're listening, shout out. He's very good at what he does. He's actually coming on. We're meeting next week for lunch. He's coming on as our sales guy. He's going to do cold call for commercial and construction companies, but also we're going to implement some residential style stuff. So he'll be, come up with ideas and, present me a budget and what we're going to do. We're going to try it that way. But yeah, targeted to certain areas like new developments would definitely be, I have some of the suppliers I use that will also call up and say, hey, we got like 4 or 5 driveway jobs over here to let you know the contractor's done and people are buying and they didn't finish the pole. That seems to be the big thing. The contractor's not finishing the pole decks anymore. So it's like you go in there and what they want, if they want to put a pole in. So other options too are getting up with pool companies because in our area, pool companies were booked out from COVID. They were booked out like 3, 4, 5 years. Some of these companies were backlogged, so there's work there. Yeah, there's postcards. I've never been a real big postcard guy. I don't personally read postcards. I throw them in the trash when I get them.
Okay.
Yeah, it has to be something really good to catch my eye. Like I'll read the landscape ones just because I'm in that industry, but I usually just I don't bother with them. So I've always been big on yard signs. Obviously,
now do the yard signs go 1 second. Now on yard signs, do you put it only in your jobs that you're doing, or do you put it all over the area?
I try to put it all over the area, but in towns we're in, the inspectors are sticklers. So it's got 3 feet back. They take them down, they rotate them. What we used to do when we were mowing is I would always rotate 5 signs throughout the mowing. Constantly rotate them. So it's something similar like that, where like if I have a customer, I might offer like, hey, like if someone calls me up and live on a main street, they want a power wash job, and say, hey, if I can leave a decent sized sign in your yard for about a month, I'll give you 10% off the job. That's a advertised spot for me.
So did you get a lot off of that when you did that?
I did actually, yeah. Okay. Yard signs are actually pretty good for me,
So what's your return on investment on them, do you say?
return on investment, I think I spent the first year I did it, I think I spent $1,000 on signs, and
Okay.
I fuck. I mean, we scored paving jobs. I mean, we probably made like 20 grand off it.
Okay.
And that's no lie, you know, and not to
Right.
mention that's just with the hardscapes, you know, that was like 2 jobs or something. And then there was
Right.
the mowing that we would get off that. There was the all the maintenance. Like it was great. We had really good locations for the signs. Also, we had areas where like the traffic school would back up on a main road, so you'd have to see it, and we would get feedback. I had people that would call us and say, you know, I've been trying to get your number for months, but the number was too small. Sign. I finally got it because they stopped, so we knew to enlarge the sign.
Okay.
What I want to do this year is we've used just like the typical Vistaprint ones, the 2 prongs that you plug into the grass with the cobwood sign. I want to do like a nice cast iron framed one,
Okay.
not cast iron, but like nice black, like Victorian
Right.
molding and stuff with carbon green on there. What we do, and try it that way, and then still have some of my yard signs in there too, my basic ones, you know. But
Nice.
I thought that was a decent investment for the ROI. I mean, you know, you throw a couple $100 at those signs, you know.
Right.
Do
I
you make
mean,
those
I
signs?
what do I do signs? Yes, we did for a while there. We did used to put them in our landscape jobs. Um, we've never done it for total advertisement, but it's more of like we put it in our yards that we do the landscape jobs, and then it says landscaping by, and then it has our company name and our number. We have gotten some business off of that, but it's more of like we don't leave them there for that long because I know like if it's a different company mowing it, it's gone within a week. It's not they take it down right away. So I mean, if it's a company that we're maintaining, place that we're maintaining, we'll get a couple weeks out of it before we'll go ahead and pull it down. But yeah, I mean we've done signs before, but it's only on our landscaping jobs, so it's kind of like, hey, this was done by us. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like, you know, check it out, check, you know, this company out, because the thing is I look at it more of like, and it's always we have a couple places that are on a busy high section that there's always companies going ahead and putting their signs saying like mowing here, you know, call us for mowing. And it's like, this is our job. This is our job mowing. You know, I don't want your sign on my job mowing. And you know, I get that you all got to make money, and that's fine, but put it across the street in somebody else's job. Just don't put it
Yeah.
on mine. You know, that's the way I look at it, because it's like when I'm out there mowing and they see that sign, they're thinking, oh yeah, that company mows this. No, it's us. It's my company. So I think you got to be selective on where you put it, is where I look at it.
My
You know,
one thing, I've mentioned to you guys before, was I've always wanted to do more content for the company. I want to do my own content creation, but I don't have the discipline to do it myself. Like I've tried it, like a day in the life log, but like I've been trying to, like, up here in mom's attic, like this is all the stuff I haven't touched since I moved in. Like I've been trying to find my GoPro, you know, because I bought all the
right,
gadgets for the GoPro, where like, you know, and I bought that when we were still mowing, to put on the end of the weed whacker. We did a few things and to like show like the social proof of what we do. So I'd like to do more content for the company across the board. It's not just on social media, but like Google My Business, Yelp, and like the free Angie's listing, all that stuff, and just kind of blow it up that way. Because I do feel like, you know, someone might say again, that specialty shows up where, like, if you see the cool effects of like cutting on an IQ saw or cutting with a demo saw, the compaction, the excavator digging up, that gets your attention, you know.
right.
So
Oh, I
I
hear
would
you.
like to try that across the board.
Okay. I think you should. I think you should. I think it's good to show your customers exactly what you do. And social proof is definitely one of the things I think is getting more popular, to where people can check up and see what actually you do. It's not, I feel like, I mean, yeah, I get a lot of people that come to our website to, you know, find us, but I feel like there's a lot more people going to social sites to actually find you over a website anymore. So,
The only mistake I think I made with the Carbon Green pages was that I think between the 2 pages, I think I got like a few hundred people to follow. Um, is that the analytics that come back are going to be false, because I have so many peers in the industry that follow the pages, where it's like, what's the true analytics of it? You know, if it's direct to my, like, yeah, obviously if I see stuff that's like, you know, Lawrence, Boston, Worcester, Springfield, I know that that's coming directly. But like, if it's all of a sudden it's like, hey, you got 30,000 views, yeah, most of that were like guys that know in the industry that might want to support and watch me, you know, and I guess that helps in the long run. But I'll learn as I go. But I would like to, yeah, I don't know. I want to give it a shot if I can find my GoPro.
You should. I mean, I think it would be nice to see. I mean, I've seen some of your work before, so it'd be nice to be able to see the process, you know, and be able to show people the process of how you're doing it. Because I know you have all these processes and sections and
Yeah.
how you do it. So, I mean, to actually see it would probably be better. I think you get more business that way, especially the way it's going. So,
Man, I did my front walkway this spring, and I set my phone down to record it. I was doing Echo Means Business content of how to install fucking concrete pavers, and I got my mini mic on, and I'm feeling all like a content creator and everything. And I go over, and the fucking phone was full. So I think I got like the first like 3 minutes of me moving everything out with the skid steer, and I never went back to check it. I was furious. And I'm like, oh my god, I was
well,
so
at least
mad.
you got 3 minutes worth.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah.
It sucks because it's like, especially when you're doing that, it's like you got to have the great memory, and a phone works out good.
Yeah.
GoPros work out good. It's just, you got to have that backup memory. If you don't have that memory, especially a lot of them, it's like you're screwed because it's like you're
But
like you
in
said.
my phone personally, like isn't the place for it. Like I'm one of those like I don't know if it'll read it. Look at my email right there. 8,664 unread, you know, 844 notification stuff. So I don't clear my shit. So it's like I'm constantly every week I'm scrambling to like clear my phone's memory space. So yeah, I think I will have to have a conversation on what type of which if I have to get like a Nikon or something. But then I feel like I won't do it if I have to bust out a camera. It's just too much of an
I feel the same way. I really do. I feel sometimes like bringing out a camera.
Hire
JC
someone.
says hire somebody. We ain't got the money for hiring people, JC. I feel like bringing out the camera sometimes it like, I don't know if the customers see it and they kind of like leery about it, or if they know what you're doing. So it's like I'm always that guy that's leery about bringing out a camera or a camera crew. Like JC said, he wants to hire somebody. So JC, you can definitely hire somebody. It's fine. I mean, but I'm not going to hire somebody for that. I thought about it for a while there because I do know somebody that does it, but it was like, if I do it, I'm only going to do it a couple places and it's going to be done.
What's it cost to hire a camera guy?
It depends. The camera guy I had, he's a real good friend of the family. He's actually a cousin. So he did a wedding, a reception for us, and he didn't charge us much. But I think he wanted to charge like, I think $75 an hour to come out and follow me and videotape and take pictures and stuff like that.
He uses his equipment and all that stuff.
Yep.
That's a fair price. That's fair.
Right. And then he uploads it all onto a special drive and then gives it over to you, kind of like a folder, like kind of what we use for everything that we do. So
that'd be a good piece of content for the podcast. Someone that is hired, that you call that a videographer, a videographer,
yeah,
to follow you around and record the content. And was there a return on investment? Did you do it for marketing purposes? Did you do it for your own brand or your company's brand?
Right. That would be a good podcast. I think we need to find somebody that actually has done that.
Yeah. Because me, I mean, I'm the guy that's out there and I'm trying to do this. Yeah, you know, and at this point, I'm like, yeah, I'm not even recording. I'm recording the ceiling or something, you know. And like I said, my wife has a nice Nikon camera that when I first went up to Echo, I brought, and everybody's like, wow, that's nice. I'm like, oh, I don't have cameras. But I feel like if I had to break that out every time I want to do something, it would never happen. Like if I couldn't do it on my phone or my GoPro, it just wouldn't happen.
Right. I think that's the thing. You have a separate camera and do it that way. I mean, look at a lot of some of those influencers. They have 3-4 different types of cameras. That's crazy. I mean.
But I mean, I feel like at that point, like even when you're influencing, like it's a hobby, if anything, too. Where like you're investing in that. I don't know. High school kid that does it all, editing. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah. I guess if you want to get
find somebody,
yeah. So for anybody listening, JC is creeping in the corner, and he's a part of my crew is not recording with a camera. Then you get the fuck out of here. Okay, that's how you would have not profitable when you got a guy holding a camera for you when you should be holding a shovel. Anyway, JC said high school kid that does it all, editing, etc. So that's true. You can get a kid that goes to like a trade school and does like graphics or editing or something, and you know maybe he wants to build his portfolio, his or her portfolio, and cheap money. Get what you pay
Yeah.
for.
That'd be interesting. I mean, maybe
You
JC's gonna do
are
it.
you looking for a nighttime gig or something? Like
I think he's looking for an extra gig. He needs something better.
hold the light. You want to hold the light for dad again?
Could you see JC walking around with the camera
Yeah, I could actually.
with the Curavan shirt on? Like you're like, get the shovel. No, I gotta videotape this.
Bro, it's crazy because I have invested in I have the GoPro attachments. I bought one of those rotating because my wife did some content created, but she's good with that shit.
Right.
She could edit for me. But I'm not
Hire her.
Yeah, I know. I know. I don't think she's gonna want to follow me and record me all fucking day. Well, I don't even want to be recorded. I want it to be the
Right.
company. It doesn't have to. I don't
Right.
even care about me. You don't really see my face. You don't see my face or my name at all in my company because I'm not the face of my company. My company is the face of my company.
Right.
I'm my own brand, like Jay Curry.
Right.
Whatever the
Yeah.
fuck my name is on Instagram and TikTok. That's my shit.
Right.
I've always tried to separate the two. That's always been my thing. I've always tried to separate the two companies, or the two
Right.
entities of myself, my brand, or just me being me and my company.
Right. I see it. I'm telling you, you need to hire your wife. There you go. So that's all we have for today, guys. I want to thank Josh for being on, JC for commenting in the background. I know he's been busy today. He's out doing some other stuff. He has to reset up his studio for his videos. So thank you guys for being on, and we will talk to you later.